All right, so tonight I have Adam Sweeney here with us. Adam Sweeney is a guy kind of took his place at Gardner Webb. He was previously a GA there. He started out there as a manager. He's originally from Ohio, so he started out there as a manager, and then ended up being a walk on for the basketball team for 3 years, and then entered into the GA role there, the grad assistant role there, where he did an excellent job. Coach Kraft and all those guys there really give him high praise. So I'm filling in some big shoes. And now he's just started at NorthWest Florida State College, which
Got it.
is Division One junior college down in Florida. One of the best junior colleges in the country. Um, Recent national champions. And so he just started in his assistant coaching role down there 2 months ago now.
Yeah, about 2 months. I got here a couple weeks ago, but as far as making everything official that I was going to be here, it's been about 2 months.
Okay.
So
So tonight, I'm really honored to have Adam. Thankful that he's coming on. He's our first guest, so you gotta do well. But so we're just gonna talk a little bit about things that you've learned along your path so far. Talking about recruiting a little bit and what you've learned down there on the job so far. I know you kind of got thrown into the fire a little bit. Um, and just kind of some advice that you would give to younger coaches that are getting into the profession. Just little tidbits of how to be successful that you can give to them. So I just have maybe 11 questions for you, and we'll go ahead and get started. Sound good?
sounds good. Let's do it.
All right, here we go. Uh, First question for you. Just tell us a little bit about your path, and I know I touched on it a little bit, to where you got to where you are now, and also why you coach.
Okay, so my path began, like you said, going down from Ohio to North Carolina. Uh, I was started off at Gardner Webb as a manager, student manager, which was a great experience for me. It's where you're coming from playing high school basketball, where I was fortunate enough to where on my high school team I played point guards. I always had the ball in my hands. I was taking a lot of shots, stuff like that. So like it was just kind of like I was just so used to basketball being something like I was always like the better player on my team and stuff like that. And now I'm helping out in a basketball program in a completely different role. So I had to learn. It's where I kind of learned about just like really serving the people on the team. Whether it was the coaches or other players, other managers, stuff like that. So I learned how to serve. Just realizing that as much as I tried to be a good teammate when I was in high school as a player, that's where I really learned how to be a good teammate was when I was a manager, because as a manager you're never going to get really any credit as far as the people in the stands will never know what you're doing, but you can make a big impact with the team and the program, and nobody will ever know it except the players and the coaches. And then, so after that, I was fortunate enough that they liked me enough to put me on as a walk on. It was, I still remember getting the phone call over the summer that they were going to do it. And it was one of the best experiences, the best thing that's ever happened to me. Looking on these past 6 years really that I was at Gardner Webb, it was a great time. I learned a ton even as a walk on. That's where I really fell in love with basketball there. Like I always liked it when I was in high school and stuff, but that was where I really fell in love with it. And I think even that year as a manager of not really being a player is what made me really realize like it's almost like I needed it in my life.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of why I decided to get into coaching. Now that's just why I wanted to start coaching. No, there's other reasons. Obviously, I love being on the floor with guys and helping them work on things that they need to get better, or even really things off the court as well. I like sending guys like little like leadership articles and stuff like that I find that sometimes it pertains to on the court, sometimes it's off the court, but it's still great to know that you can affect other people's lives as a coach, and it's a great responsibility, and I love doing it, and that's why really the main reason why I like to get into coaching as well.
Absolutely. I love what you talked about in terms of impacting lives through the game of basketball, and it's really such a unique way that we get to do it. Another thing that you touched on there is being on the floor with players and helping them work on their weaknesses. You don't really hear many coaches say that that's one of the reasons that they enjoy it so much. But that's awesome. That's kind of your testimony and why you do what you do. So you touched a little bit about your time as a manager and your time as a player. So my next question for you is, what exactly did you learn as a manager that prepared you to be a graduate assistant? I know you talked about being a servant and kind of really learning how to be a great teammate. Let's expand on that a little bit for the viewers.
Okay, well, I think part of the main job anytime you're in a supportive role, whether it's a manager or even as a GA, it's like, how can I make the lives of other coaches easier and the people around you? And so that was really what I learned, as a manager, that helped prepare me into being a GA was, as part of, like, you could still be a great teammate as a GA for, the coaches you're working for, and, finding ways to help them and make their lives easier, like I said, without them even telling you, and just trying to, come up with anything you can to help them, or maybe you just flat out ask them, like, hey, like, what can I do for you today? What's going to make your life easier? I think that's really the main thing, I would say, and that was kind of, and then also, you kind of learn that there's no task that's too small for you. As a manager, you do a lot of dirty work, like, you're either wiping up maybe some sweat on the floor, you're handing out water, maybe you're doing laundry, and then you kind of get to be a GA, and, you might start to think, well, yeah, like, I'm kind of a coach now, like, I'm above that stuff, but really, like, there's no task too small when it comes out to, starting off, especially in this profession, when you're trying to, catch the eye of the coaches you're working for, and you're trying to make the best impression and the most impact you can. I think if you keep that mindset, it goes a long way, and that's kind of what I learned as a manager, even as a walk-on, really, and then I continued it as a GA.
So I think all of that's great stuff. What are some ways that you tried to add value to your role when talking about, say, how can I help you today? What would be some things of how you were able to help the coaches that you were involved with?
Yeah, well, the one aspect was, I kind of tried it as my role as a GA. I got to be able to be on the floor, with guys working on their games. So, being able to do that and take guys maybe in, one-on-one or in groups of 2 or 3, it kind of, it helps take the load off of the assistant coaches, because, now they don't have to spend that hour out on the floor, working out that guy. They kind of trusted me enough as I showed them that I could handle that and do the kind of things that they wanted that, related to, what we were trying to do as a team in our system. And so that was the main one I tried to do was, just save them that maybe an hour or 2 a day, where instead of them being on the court having to, work out some guys, now they could get some other stuff done that they might have to do, like office work kind of type stuff, and then that way, they could be out there by 5 o'clock and with their families.
Right. I think that's awesome. That kind of transfers into my next question for you is, what did you learn as a graduate assistant that has helped you so far in your new assistant role down in Florida?
Right. Well, I guess it would kind of just continue on with the no task too small. So, there's a lot of stuff that even last year as a GA at Gardner Webb, like, there were times where I was doing laundry and, some other kind of dirty work, things like that. And then, starting off at a junior college, you don't have all the budget of a Division I school, so like I know I'm probably going to be continuing to do laundry and stuff like that to help out. Um, just thinking the other day, we're picking up boxed lunches for our players for their Friday lunch because we don't have our cafeteria closes on Fridays. So I'm going over and picking up their lunches and stuff like that and bringing it to them. And instead of you can have a bad attitude about it and say, like I'm a coach, like I'm not supposed to be doing these things. I'm supposed to be learning X's and O's, but you're not always doing that. So just keeping that mindset that no task is too small. I think it even grew as I was a GA, and it's really helped me now in this new role. And I think wherever I go after this and on, I think if I keep that mindset, I think there's always going to be stuff like that you don't think you should do, but it's a big help if you do it with the right attitude.
Absolutely. Listening to the guys speak about you now, and talking about kind of your work ethic and the type of person that you are, and kind of the value that you brought to the program. It's interesting to hear kind of your philosophy of no job is too small and how the two kind of correlate. And so I hope that I'm able to be half of what you were to the program and help in any way that I can. But that's awesome stuff that you're talking about. And I think that is really, really important, keeping your nose down and working hard, no matter the job. You might be tasked with sweeping the floor or doing laundry, but, if you do those little things well, you're able to earn the trust to gain bigger things on your hands.
Absolutely.
And so I think, those are important concepts that you're touching on for sure. So the next question is, what was the importance of being a GA? You kind of talked a little bit about, what you've learned, but so what was the importance? What was the main takeaway that you got out of it, maybe conceptually?
Man, probably just learning all the behind the scenes of what goes on in a college basketball program. Especially as a manager, I kind of got a little bit of it, and then when I became a walk-on, like obviously when you're a player, you don't see any of the behind the scenes work. It's something as simple as just like traveling to a game. Like you don't see all the work that goes behind that. Like at Gardner Webb, the director of basketball operations, he does a great job of scheduling all that stuff and making sure we're where we need to be at the right times. We always have our bus or our plane, and it's like stuff like that I didn't even think about as a player. And then all of a sudden you're a GA, and you're like, wow, like I got this stuff to think about on top of the basketball, and it's a lot of that kind of stuff that other office work that you don't think about until you're actually in that role, and that's why it was great as a GA because I got to be exposed to it before getting thrown into the fire of being an actual assistant coach. So now you're kind of more familiar with what goes on behind the scenes, and nothing's as much a surprise to you because you know what to expect.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the probably biggest obstacles I've learned so far is just all the behind the scenes work that I didn't realize existed either. Even with coming from being a high school coach to a GA now, I get to learn about all the extra stuff that goes on and how to run a college program too. And I know that your dream is to be a Division I head coach one day, just as mine is. And I think it'll be important, for us to know all the ins and outs at every single step, along the staff when we get there. That way we can appreciate and cherish each one of those people and their responsibilities. So I think that's great stuff that you're talking about. And awesome that you kind of grasped that conceptually while you were in GA. My next question for you is, how has the transition been to being an assistant now and recruiting guys that are going to play for your head coach's program? So just tell us, kind of what you've learned so far in the recruiting aspects.
Right. Well, the first thing I learned is that you don't get any experience as a GA, or you don't get that experience until you can actually start doing it. So definitely making as many connections as possible is one thing. I wish I probably would have done more when I was a GA. I know, like like when I went to the Final Four, I met some guys that were, prep coaches, and they've actually been big contacts for me now as of late. And, guys that I've been talking to about some of their players, or they've had other players that they know about that they kind of recommended to us that we could check out. Um, and that's kind of the big thing, especially in junior college. You don't have the kind of budget that these Division I schools have, so you rely a lot of word of mouth on players, and you get message about, hey, I got this kid that he's going to be a non-qualifier, but he had some mid-major offers, like he's worth checking out, and then you're like, oh great, yeah, like we'll look into him, and then you do, and sometimes you really like him, and you get their contact information, you start recruiting them, and sometimes you might send them to somebody else, another might be another prep school coach that or another junior college coach, and kind of just building that network and relationships that you need down the road that you might not think you're going to need, but who knows what's going to happen a year or two from now, and you might be calling up somebody you never thought you would.
Absolutely. So what are some ways that you would have went about growing and developing your network as a GA? How would you have went about that better if you could go back and redo it?
Right, that's a good question. Well, I think I definitely would have went to the Final Four the year before, and I guess maybe once I got done as a player and I knew I was going to be a GA, I should have went. So really, there's probably 3 years in a row that I should have went instead of this past year to kind of help meet people, because they got like that rising coaches.
Absolutely, yeah.
They got that, which is a great place to go meet young coaches. It's a lot of prep coaches, a lot of high school coaches. And that's where I was at, where I met some of those guys. So that's definitely one. And then just another thing I wish I would have done more was, try to evaluate high school players more, on my own, and just kind of get a feel of, what a high major high school player looks like, what a mid major, what a Division II player kind of looks like, and that way you kind of have a grasp of what your program's looking for when you get there, depending on what level. That way, you might not waste your time maybe looking at a kid that's either really really good, kind of above what you guys can recruit, or maybe two below what you guys recruit and what your coach wants. So I think that was another thing that I kind of had to adjust to and get used to, and it took a little while to kind of start to figure that out.
Absolutely, and I love your insights on that, and everything that you're giving, I'm gonna take and use my own. So I appreciate all your help and you being a mentor to me as well. But so talking about adding on that question, what are the major differences that you see from a high major player to a mid major player to a low major player at the high school level? What are some distinct attributes that kind of place them in those different categories?
Well, I think the first thing that you got to look at is definitely the size and the athleticism. A 6'5" guard is, if the 6'5" guard is the same skill level as like 6-foot guard, they're always, mid-major players if they're, usually if they have the right skills, if they're 6'5" and they're guard, they're going to be, getting high major and really good mid-major looks. So that's definitely one of the things that distinguishes it. And then just like their overall athleticism, I think, is another one. Trying to look at those things that can't be taught necessarily as a coach. You can't teach a guy that's really athletic and he's a 6'5" guard. That can't be taught. But we can work on their shooting, their ball handling and stuff like that. So that's definitely kind of the main thing to me that distinguishes the level, and then just the skill set as well. Here we like guys that can really shoot the ball, as just about every other coach does. So we put an emphasis on that. That's something that we use to kind of gauge if the guys kind of are level or not as well.
Absolutely. So you kind of touched on what your coach is looking for in a recruit. kind of go a little bit more into that, and maybe how your recruiting tactics maybe differ, say from coach to coach. Maybe you say your coach values more shooting. How would your recruiting efforts differ if you were to be an assistant under a coach who valued more of a defensive mindset?
Yeah, that's a good question. As I said, we really look for guys that can shoot it. Now, obviously, the big time shooters aren't always available for us, and also, we're really fortunate in the kind of position we're in with the program we have, and that's been built up with there's been great coaches before us that have been here that have been a part of building this program up into the reputation it has for a junior college. So we're able to kind of pick and choose as well based on the character of kids. Which when you look at the nature of junior college and what it is, it's really valuable when you can pass on a kid that might come from a more troubled background. You can take another kid that when he comes in, we feel like we can trust him right away, and they have our trust, and we don't have to worry about looking over them all the time and making sure they're doing the right things. So that's another thing that we really look for outside of just the skills they have.
Absolutely.
And then also we look for we look for the mid-major to high major talent that's out there. Guys that are 6'5" guards, everybody likes those and everybody wants those. So
that's for sure.
Yeah, so we try to get them, and we do our best to if they're available to us. And but I think the character is the great thing that it's been a pleasant surprise for me being new here, and just kind of sometimes the junior college level gets a bad reputation for the kind of players that can be there. Now
Absolutely.
That's not all of them, but there are some. And it's really great talking to our head coach when I'm just starting off, and he's telling me like I put a big emphasis on the character of the kids we recruit, and we don't want troublemakers, and we try to stay away from them.
Yeah. Absolutely, that's great stuff, and that's so true. Really, when you think of JUCOs, you think of all the stereotypes that are placed on them with bad kids or bad grades or bad upbringings, whatever. But it's awesome to hear you say that it's not all like that, and that you still try to go after those good kids that are still really good players, and maybe had a mistake or whatever the case may be. So that's really awesome. My next question for you is, what are some things that you do on a daily basis in order to grow not only as a coach but as a person as well?
Another great question. So the first thing I do is I don't want to brag here. It's something I started doing. Is I get up at around 6:30 to 6:45 every morning. With some people that might not even be that early. Some people it might be. To me, sometimes it feels really early, and I read for about 45 minutes every day. And sometimes it's a leadership book. Sometimes it might be like a coaching biography. Sometimes it's just might be just for sport leadership. Sometimes it's really anything I can find that I think I could take something from and apply it to my life.
Absolutely.
And as a coach. And the one book you have on your list, How to Win Friends and Influence People, I'm not gonna put it at the end of my reading list for you because you already beat me to that, which is a great book that you can use for as a person and as a coach. It's probably the best book you could read for life and coaching, kind of like you said. So I definitely reading for sure, because I think that's where you can learn a lot and apply it to both your life and as a coach. And then other things as far as now, are you asking for more of outside of coaching or how I grow as a coach? I can't really remember which one you were looking for.
Either or, both. What are some things that you're doing daily to get better? Whether that be.
Well, yeah, and then on top of just reading, books, I also read. I like to go on, even if it's for like 15, 20 minutes. I might read kind of like a website like you've created. There's a lot of good ones out there that either might be like some clinic notes on a different kind of defense or an offense that a coach puts out, or it might be some kind of coaching style or coaching philosophy. Just stuff like that to help me on the court for sure. I think anytime you can take 15 to 20 minutes, 30 minutes to help yourself grow, you should do that on a daily basis. And it's something I try to do. Sometimes I don't always do it because life can get kind of busy sometimes. There's a lot going on. But and then I really think you can even just help you grow in life. I think there's so much that happens with coaching that you can even take into life. The kind of attitude like here we our big thing is being really positive as a staff. We try to be really positive, and we say that optimism is our competitive advantage. And I think that that doesn't have to be just when we're out on the court with our players. I think when I go home, and I'm doing my grad school work, I'm not quite done with that yet. I think I need to keep that same mindset no matter what. So I think there's a lot of good stuff that happens on a daily basis that can also be applied to your life as well.
Absolutely. I think it's George Raveling that says your growth depends on the people that you talk to and the books that you read. And that's
Absolutely.
really, really important. I'm glad you touched on how much you're reading, and not only reading, but with you is you're having a strategic plan on how to grow each and every day, and I think that's important and something that not enough of us do. By you getting up at 6:30 or 6:45 every morning and just spending time in good books, and so I think that's important. And I'm glad that you touched on that for sure. My next question for you is, what are some important things to remember when you're coaching kids that are similar in age to you? I kind of went through this at the high school level while I was still an undergrad, but it's something that's kind of applies to you now too as well, being an assistant.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, I think there's definitely some advantages and some disadvantages to that. To touch on some of the advantages of it, that closer age group allows me to kind of relate to them, I think, more than if I was, in my mid 30s or 40s. Not that it can't be done, but I think it kind of helps me more. I'm a little more familiar with maybe when we're lifting and we're getting a workout in our weight room, like I can play music they like because I'm, I hear it all the time, so I kind of know like who the the different rappers are and stuff. So I can kind of play the music they like and kind of just talk about stuff like that with them. And I think being a young person on social media, I follow all our guys on like Twitter and Instagram. And, I might just bring up like, hey, like that retweet you had the other day was funny, man. We'll like pull the video up again and watch it and laugh. And it's kind of just a way that you can kind of relate to them because you are close to the same age. My little brother's as old as some of these kids, so it's like like I know exactly what they're like. I was just like them a few years ago. So, and then I think the disadvantage of it is because you are so close to them in age that you have to always kind of keep in mind that you need to have that separation. So it's kind of something you always got to be thinking about. Is like there are times when I can't talk to them like we are that close in age, and we're I got to talk to them as if I'm your coach, and I'm trying to help you, and I'm trying to teach you, and I'm trying to keep that that kind of professional distance that needs to be there. So I think that can kind of be hard, and I think that's maybe the biggest disadvantage of it is it's hard to keep that. You got to work on it. And I think it really helps from the start how you conduct yourself. You can always tone it back if you feel like you can, more than be really loose with it, and then all of a sudden you want to tighten up, and it's hard to because you've never done it before, and now they're kind of like what's this guy doing? Like he doesn't act like that ever. So that's kind of the advantages and kind of challenges of being that close in age with the players.
Absolutely. I think that's really great there at the end of you talking about probably being more strict with them at the beginning. and then you can loosen up as you need to, as opposed to the opposite. Never really thought about it that way, but that's really true, and is a good principle to take into it whenever you get in that role. So that's really awesome. My next question for you is, what are some time management techniques that you use while being a GA, and are currently that you were using that you would like to pass on to viewers that are watching?
Okay, some time management techniques. All right, that's a good one. I think not even if you go down to plan your day as much as like detailing it by like the hour or the minute, however you might want to do it. Just maybe at night before you go to bed, you just kind of start making mental notes of the things you want to accomplish. Like, I'm going to get up at this time and I'm going to get this stuff done. I think it just helps you kind of start your day in the right direction. And I think every day kind of helps you get started and kind of take care of the things that need to get done. So that way something doesn't pop up in your mind and all of a sudden you're like, man, like, I don't have enough time to do this. So I think now if you wanted to get into detail and you wanted to write everything down, it'd probably be better. I don't do that, but I would probably recommend that even because I do forget some things that I need to do. And then the other thing, not to come off as like a nerd or anything, but I pack my lunch and I pick my clothes out for the day in advance at night, so that way in the morning it saves me time and I don't have to do it. And it's just another way that I found to kind of give myself more time to do other stuff that I want to do to start the day.
Absolutely. I think that's awesome. I know with my memory is terrible as well. So I have to write things down, and so one of the things I've tried to do on a daily basis now, and I know Coach Kraft does the same thing, is to create a daily to-do list.
Oh yeah, yeah, he sure does.
And that's been helpful for me so far, just with the many different things, because like you said, I'll forget some things. So that's been helpful for me. But I love that you're packing your lunch and getting dressed or picking your clothes out the day before. I'm going to have to start taking on that technique.
It's not bad. It's not bad. Instead of sitting there and watching TV, you get that done and it helps you for the next day.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. I'm going to have to steal that from you. My next question for you is, what is one piece of advice that you would give to young people that are wanting to get into the coaching profession?
Okay. Well, I would say, first off, you got to find any way you can to get your foot in the door, whether it is as a manager or who knows what it could be. It might not be the job you want, but I think if you really want to do it, you'll find a way to be a part of it, no matter what your job may be or your responsibilities. And I think I got to throw in that there's no task too small. And I think those kind of go hand in hand together. But I think they're also crucial in, as competitive as it is, in the coaching profession now. I mean, it's ultra competitive. There's so many people that want to get in and get to the highest level that I think you got to try and just find any way you can to get in and find any way you can help out a program, whatever kind of job it is. I think those two are so important and so crucial for any young person who wants to get into coaching, and then make as many contacts as you can to go along with it, because you never know when you're going to need somebody. That's the other thing I'm learning.
Absolutely. I think that's awesome. They say you really either get in with your work ethic or by somebody that you know.
If you can have both, then you're on the right track.
Absolutely. I'm finding out about the contact part of it as well, and how important that is. On a different level than you, but just the importance of having people that you can rely on in times of need, and people that you can help and they can help you in both of your paths. So my next question for you, just got a couple left here, is what are some skills that those young people should be developing in order to be prepared for that coaching opportunity and breaking into the business? What are some skills that they can be working on before they get that opportunity?
Definitely. Well, I think the first skill would probably just be the skill of listening. and coming in with that approach of wanting to learn and learning through, listening to your coaches. I mean, any head coach, no matter what level, has a lot of knowledge of the game. I don't care what level it is. Like they're gonna know, really what they're doing, and they're gonna have some things to teach you for sure. So that's the important thing, I think, is really understanding that you got to listen and learn as a young coach, because there's you might know some things, but in the grand scheme of everything there is to know out there in the game of basketball, you really know nothing when you think about it. So that's kind of the one thing that I think you got to have, that skill right there. And I think having that skill is then going to help your skills of strategy, and kind of being able to develop your eye for the game is all would come from being able to really listen and learn first. And I think that's where those other things come from. And then outside of that, I would just say just the skill of helping as well is the other one. I think having that kind of mindset to help other people is a skill that can be developed too. Just kind of the more you do it, and the more you consciously look for it, look for ways to help people, I think it starts to come into your mind more, and then all of a sudden you do it without even thinking about it. And it's such an important skill, really for any time you're going to be working as a team, because when you're a coach, whether you're an assistant coach, a head coach, maybe even a graduate assistant, you're always going to be helping people, so you might as well get used to it.
Absolutely. Two things that I got out of that. The first is really our coaching profession is all about helping others, and our success as a coach depends on the success of others, directly. So our ability to help them is really, really important. And the second thing I got out of what you said was how listening and helping others is a skill that can be developed. And I think that's important, and things that probably our society as a whole needs to get better at. Because I think too often we listen to reply instead of listening to understand.
Yeah, we're all guilty of that too. That's for sure. We all do it, no doubt.
Absolutely, but I think like you're saying, it is a skill that can be developed, and it's important that we practice listening to others while not being distracted. Not looking down at our phone, and making sure that every person that we're talking to, we're making them feel like they're the most important person in the world every time we have a conversation with them. And then with helping others, that's a skill that can be developed, and a mindset that we can grow in. And so I thought those are awesome things that you're talking about. Anything to add to that?
I don't think so.
Okay. So my last question for you, kind of a three-part question here. It's just, what are some final thoughts, maybe questions that I missed on, that things you want to add? What are some book recommendations? And then the third one is, what is your contact information so viewers can reach you, and maybe ask you more questions, or maybe just reach out to you with whatever they have?
Sure. Well, I'd say for my book recommendations, I got two here.
Okay.
That aren't on your list. You got a good long list. I'm a little mad you took some of mine. The first one I got here, it's called Crucial Conversations. It's Tools for Talking When Stakes Are High.
Okay.
Now, I read it last summer, and then I read it again this summer. It's one I think I need to make like a yearly reread, because I learned so much the second time reading it, and there's a lot of stuff that I forgot through the first time. So once again, it's called Crucial Conversations, and this is one that I also saw was recommended by Brad Stevens.
Oh, okay.
Some kind of clinic notes or something I was reading, which is a great way that I found books to read, is while you're reading maybe other books, they recommend books in it, or through like clinic notes and stuff like that, or even websites like you have that post them. I think it's a great spot. And then the second one I have is called Leaders Eat Last by Simon Sinek. Was this one on your list?
It's not on my list, but I've read that one. That's a
good
one.
Good. And it's kind of funny. I picked these two out, and then they go right hand in hand with, like I said, like the skill of like listening and stuff. It talks all about that, and being able to, listen to understand, and that's like one of the most effective ways to communicate is let people know like you are listening to them. And then this one's all about serving. The title Leaders Eat Last. It's kind of a military, more of a military saying that they have. Comes from like it doesn't really apply as much now, but if you were looking back at long time ago when they would they'd have to ration out food at their army camps and stuff, military camps. It's kind of like a way for the leaders to show they're looking out for their soldiers. Hey, I'm going to let you guys eat first, and if there's no food, I'll go hungry. That's fine because you guys are more important than me. And it kind of goes. It's actually really cool. It kind of goes into like the science, like chemically, in our bodies of what happens when we serve people, and when we make sacrifices for people, and how it affects us and how it affects other people, like whether it's them or the people watching. Like even if you're serving, one thing that's in this I thought was really cool is it says like if you do something to help one person, but there's other people around to watch it happen, like they get the same kind of chemical effect in their brains as the person who is being helped. So it's really cool to keep that in mind that you can help many people just by helping one. And I was like, man, like as a coach, like that's so easy to do. You're around the team all the time. You just find a way to help one person. It's going to affect everybody else around them. So those were the two that I haven't. I'm going to grab one more. It's on your list already, but
okay.
These people haven't looked.
Yeah, absolutely.
How to Win Friends and Influence People.
That's a great one.
It's honestly, it's the best. And if I got it for my siblings as a Christmas gift last Christmas, and so I would recommend it. That's a good gift to give people.
I'm gonna steal that too. I'm gonna steal that from you as well.
Definitely should.
It is because it really is. It's a must read.
Absolutely. And then what was your third question there?
Your contact information so people can reach out to you about different questions that they have.
Okay. Yeah, so once again, my name's Adam Sweeney, and I'm at NorthWest Florida State College. My phone number, you can call me or text me. I don't care. I'll get back to you as long as you leave me a message. My number's 440-361-5705. Again, that's 440-361-5705. Or you can email me. My email here is sweeney5@nwfsc.edu. And again, that's Sweeney5, the number 5, at nwfsc.edu.
Absolutely.
So, that's all I got. And Adam, I appreciate you starting this website and reaching out to me. Because especially as someone like me who tries to learn as much as they can, at least I try to learn as much as I can. Looking for websites like you've made. Just going on there, I've already learned some stuff and found some good stuff to take with me. And I'm already, writing down some of your book recommendations too. I'm going to get on Amazon and start ordering some. So.
Absolutely.
So I think it's great what you're doing here. Keep up the good work, and I'm looking forward to see, who you can have talk in the future. And I appreciate you reaching out to me first.
Absolutely. I'm thankful for the opportunity to interview you, and you've been a blessing, and I'm thankful for that. I've got some great nuggets in the interview and kind of what you spoke on today. So I appreciate you doing this for me. It's really, really important to me. And I look forward to speaking with you soon. I wish you well down there, and stay in touch with me.
Yeah, well, best of luck at the web. I hope things are going great there for you. I know they are, and I'm excited to see the kind of year you guys are going to have.
Absolutely.
Be a good one.
Absolutely. Well, Adam, I appreciate you. Hope you have a good rest of your night, and I'll be talking to you soon.
Sounds good, man. You do the same.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.